Some women want more from life than health and happiness.
A 5-letter word that starts with a G and ends with a D. Greed.
A businesswoman makes a deal to die for.
She was calculated, manipulative, and a sick person.
A young bride is in love with her older husband's cash.
He thought he was a lucky guy. He had no idea how unlucky he was.
And a woman loses her man to the sea.
Up until that point, she'd fooled everyone.
These deadly women want the good life at others' expense. They are money hungry. When 40-year-old Abraham Shakespeare wins a massive lottery prize in Lakeland, Florida in 2006, an ordinary man starts an extraordinary adventure.
He took a lump sum payment of $17 million. When Shakespeare won the lottery, the entire community won also.
It says $500,000.
He basically became Lakeland's stimulus package.
Think about that place.
Shakespeare was a very, very generous person.
While happy for her son, 65-year-old Elizabeth Walker is wary of the windfall.
Abraham's mother was a wonderful person. Abraham tried to give her money and buy her a new house, and she didn't want it. Abraham's mother thought the money was evil and would bring him no good.
Cheers! $17 million.
Many other people are ready to line up for the generosity of this uneducated but good-natured young man.
And of course,
He couldn't read or write. If at all, he couldn't do it very well. I don't think he understood the value of money. I think he thought he'll never run out of money.
Abraham's good fortune catches the eye of 35-year-old entrepreneur Dorice, Dee Dee Moore.
Dee Dee Moore was a blonde, flashy woman. She was very confident, very sure of herself.
Dee Dee's currently got herself a 26-year-old boy toy.
Not now, I'm thinking.
come on, baby.
But she's always looking for more excitement. And a newly minted millionaire is a person she wants to know.
She presented herself as to be a writer. She offered to write a book. So from there, a friendship budded between the two of them.
But the book is just the start of Dee Dee's deal.
You get tired of people asking for money, Abe?
Yeah, I do.
She offers to manage all of Abraham's financial affairs.
Dee Dee presented herself as someone who wasn't going to be a moocher.
In Abraham's mind, here comes this lady who decides, hey, I'll get this all straightened out for you.
This one here is to close your existing account.
She convinced him to put all of his holdings in her company name, and this was a way for people to stop asking for money from him.
But Dee Dee is far from a savior.
After you start peeling the layers behind of Dee Dee Moore, you start realizing more and more something's not right here.
The smooth-talking businesswoman has a long history of deceit and fraud. One scam 5 years earlier shows how far Dee Dee will go to come out on top. When her car is about to be repossessed, Dee Dee stages a dramatic ruse.
Just up there.
She had called and reported that her vehicle had been carjacked and she had been left for dead by some Mexican guys in a ditch somewhere.
For extra sympathy, Dee Dee claims she is raped.
She was calculated, manipulative, and a sick person.
Dee Dee Moore is the classic textbook definition of a psychopath. Persistent and chronic liar, manipulator of other people. If a psychopath isn't manipulating someone and deceiving and stealing, they're not having any fun.
But naive Abraham knows nothing of her past.
She found him, and she knew she could work him. And oh, did she.
Abraham thinks his money is safe from his clawing community because he hands it all to Dee Dee.
Wow, you weren't kidding.
For you, baby.
She had his house, his properties, his cars, even his bank accounts. Everything, I mean everything, was switched into the name of her company that she operated.
While Dee Dee has never been happier, Abraham is worried and anxious.
Man, I'm finna get out. I'm finna go.
The burden of being a multi-millionaire is starting to get to him. He disappears.
Shakespeare talked so much about being aggravated about people asking him for money. So when he disappeared, people thought to themselves, well, maybe he finally did get tired.
Lakeland now loses its stimulus package. Abraham is no longer around to give anyone his money. No one sees him for months, but his family and friends receive a series of strange texts.
It's Abe. He says it's going away.
Abraham is on a cruise to Jamaica, how Abraham is in Texas. He doesn't want anybody to see him. The stories just never end.
After 9 months, finally, a phone call.
Yeah, Mom. I'm fine.
But something is strange.
Get away.
His mother said, "Who are you? You're not Shakespeare."
No one knows who it is, except Dee Dee Moore. It's her deep, dark secret. 2009, Lakeland, Florida. After 43-year-old Abraham Shakespeare wins a lottery, everyone wants a handout.
Just don't stop.
When 36-year-old Dee Dee Moore offers to manage his millions, he jumps at the chance.
Congratulations.
But the only person Dee Dee wants to help is herself.
First class all the way.
She's a con woman.
That's my money in your wallet, is how they see the world. And because I'm so much smarter than you, I will get it.
His friends think Abraham is on an extended holiday. Dee Dee knows the truth. Not long after signing over his fortune to her, Abraham becomes suspicious.
It ain't working out.
Everything is good, Abe.
No, it ain't.
Abraham had come to her and said, hey, something's not right. I can't get to my money. You know, what's going on?
Look, man,
April 6th, 2009. Abraham tells Dee Dee he's going to the bank to sort it out. Dee Dee knows if he does, she'll be exposed.
Everything is good.
There's a safe inside that house where she tells Abraham all his money is, all the cash is. She opens the safe. Abraham thinks he's gonna get a bunch of money. She's She doesn't pull out the money, but she pulls a gun out of the safe.
No. Please, no.
And she shoots him twice.
Dee Dee takes the last thing Abraham has left to give: his life.
Abraham Shakespeare was a nice guy. He didn't stand a chance against Dee Dee Moore. Not a chance.
The money is all hers, but it still isn't enough for Dee Dee.
She saw outstanding debts that people owed him as a cash cow. There was probably close to $3 million if she could consistently collect on these monies.
The prospect of easy money is too good to refuse.
Dee Dee went to extreme lengths to make it look as if Shakespeare was alive to his friends and family.
Abraham texts his family and friends from the grave. But one day, Dee Dee goes too far, trying to stage a phone call.
Yeah, Mom, I'm fine. Just needed to get away.
A mother knows her son's voice. She calls the cops.
Abraham's mother called me and said, hey, somebody called that said they were Abraham. I don't know if it was, but it didn't really sound like him.
The police start asking questions. Dee Dee has to protect herself. She needs someone else to take the murder rap and turns to an old friend of Abraham's for help.
I've got a lot more cash for someone who'll say they killed Abraham.
She says, I need to find somebody who is willing to tell the police that they did something to Abraham, that they killed Abraham.
I'll ask around.
I'm willing to pay them.
Dee Dee is introduced to career criminal Mike Smith, a perfect candidate.
Mike Smith is fixing to go to federal prison, has already signed off a plea agreement for 25 years, and basically he can't get any more time. For a certain amount of money, he would be willing to say that he killed Abraham Shakespeare.
You do this, you'll be a very popular person.
Mike agrees to take the blame, but needs evidence of the murder. Otherwise, he won't be believed.
Where is he? What happened?
Shot him. He's buried in my backyard.
Dee Dee has to hand over the weapon and the location of Abraham's body.
So in Dee Dee Moore's mind, she's just won the game. She's got somebody that's gonna confess to killing Abraham Shakespeare.
But there's one thing Dee Dee doesn't know. Mike Smith is an undercover cop.
Every time he met with her, every time he talked with her, he was wearing a wire.
Did you dig here?
Dee Dee had admitted where the body was located.
Then you gotta burn him.
That was enough for authorities to go in and make an arrest. They had what they needed.
The master of the sting has been stung.
Dee Dee Moore never thought she would get caught.
Don't forget to bring the marshmallows.
Yet, she told the whole story to an undercover cop. Bye-bye now.
On December 10th, 2012, Dorice Dee Dee Moore is convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison.
I think it was all money, and I think it just came down to the very end that she felt trapped and this was the only way out.
Dee Dee is in prison for the rest of her life, and that is exactly where she needs to be for the rest of us to be safe.
A perfect recipe for marriage.
He's got the prize, the younger woman.
Love, honesty, and respect.
He thought he was a lucky guy. He had no idea how unlucky he was.
In the 1970s, near Louisville, Indiana, newlyweds Anne and David Plew have a loving marriage and the world at their feet.
They both appeared to be happy. Anne appeared to be a really outgoing, happy person, and David appeared to be happy and satisfied to be with her.
David's brother, Raymond Plew, remembers 28-year-old Anne's captivating charm.
Someone that can gain your confidence, make you like them immensely and want to do everything for you. That's the kind of person she was.
A charming personality sounds ideal for Anne's nursing career, but she is more complicated than she seems.
She worked as a registered nurse. She held a supervisory position, which later it appeared that she had fabricated certificates to obtain that position when she wasn't even qualified for it. Anne seemed to be living in a path of lies.
One of her many deceits is 29-year-old Tim.
Tim was friends with Ann Gates from right after high school.
Maybe if I'd married you, I would have been happier.
Marry me, you'll never go hungry again.
He seemed to be a constant in her life.
But I did.
Despite marrying another man, Anne still enjoys Tim's company.
She was good at manipulating the men in her life.
Tim was like Anne's go-to guy. He would have done anything to marry this woman, and she just kept him on a string the entire time.
Tim is always on call for Anne. Husband David serves a very different purpose. He's her bank.
How are we meant to pay for all that?
It's okay, we'll find a way.
We'll end up in the poorhouse.
And she is quickly draining his accounts.
Anne was motivated by a 5-letter word that starts with a G and ends with a D. Greed, one of the 7 deadly sins.
David doesn't get time to rein in her spending. Within a year of marriage, a terrible tragedy.
It's about as cold-blooded as cold-blooded would be.
Late one evening in 1978, something compels David Plew to the outskirts of Louisville.
I don't know what the reason was that he would get in his car and drive out to meet someone on a country road. I don't know.
Come on, man. Do this. Come on, let's talk about this, boy. You don't need to be doing this. Not out here. Come on, man.
It is the last thing he will ever do.
He was shot twice in the head. He was left alongside of a rural road.
It surprised everybody because as nice a person as David was, and with all of the friends he had, there's no one could name a single person that would be David's enemy.
When a spouse is murdered, police usually look close to home first. But Anne has the perfect alibi. The day before the murder, she checks into the hospital for some elective surgery. Police know she hasn't done it. But David's brother thinks her behavior is odd.
After After David's death, there was zero contact with Ann. She did not appear at the funeral home or at the grave services. There wasn't even a bouquet of flowers in the funeral home with her name on them.
Anne is a wealthy widow. She is the sole beneficiary of David's assets, including his life insurance.
David Plew had a personal insurance policy of $80,000+.
Anne moves on with her life. She's got another wedding to plan.
This woman, she did whatever she wanted to do.
Come on, man.
In Louisville, Indiana, Ann Gates's husband, David, is murdered, execution style, in 1978. Ann isn't a widow for long. She remarries 7 months later.
I'd love to carry the threshold, honey, but it's my back.
But not her teen sweetheart, Tim. Anne chooses an older man, bookkeeper, 56-year-old Raymond Gates.
He's much older than Ann. Maybe to her he's a sugar daddy, but to him, he's got the prize, the younger woman.
You can buy whatever you like, darling.
Anne's need for love comes a distant second to her need for money.
There's no indication that Ann Gates truly loved the men that she married.
The new bride introduces Raymond to old friends, including Tim.
Darling, to us.
She had no qualms about bringing Tim to the house when Raymond was home.
What this proves to me is that Ann is the puppet master. She's running the whole show. She's got all these men on a string, and she's pulling them.
Anne spends as little time as she can at the marital home. She moves between her parents' home and living with a new boyfriend.
Why? I just need some space.
She would live there 2 days. She would live with the boyfriend 2 days. I guess because of his age, whatever she told him, he believed. He accepted that.
He thought he was a lucky guy. He had no idea how unlucky he was.
For nearly 9 years, Anne lives out her fantasy. A husband she hardly ever sees, and the freedom to do what she wants. But then, on October 7th, 1987, when she visits the marital home,
I've just found my husband murdered.
Ann was calm, collected. Here's her husband, blood all around him. You know what? You can't fake caring about people.
She said she went inside. She saw Raymond on the floor, dead, with multiple wounds to the head.
So he's lying on the floor, and there's dried blood around him, which means he's been there for a while, and he has several blows to the head.
What time was it you discovered your husband, ma'am?
the grieving widow is not the most reliable witness.
Did you notice any sign of break and entry when you came home, or anything missing at all?
The more you questioned her, the more the story changed.
Ann tells so many lies to law enforcement, they don't even know where to begin.
Ann tells police she hasn't been at the house for days.
But a mailman comes forward and he claims that he saw her car in the driveway in those crucial days before the body was discovered.
Ann lies to the police. Now she is placed at the murder scene. Investigators believe they know what happens.
Investigators uncover that he's been hit in the head with a long object. Lo and behold, the fire poker's missing from the house.
A fire poker is heavy. It's made of metal. It delivers a large amount of concentrated force to a very small area. It would very quickly cave in the skull.
Investigators believe the motive is a familiar one: money.
Just a few months before he was murdered, he took out a life insurance policy on himself and made her the beneficiary.
It is a circumstantial case, but on December 8, 1987, Ann Gates is arrested and charged with first-degree murder. Facing a lifetime behind bars, Ann makes a deal with the DA's office for the lesser charge of manslaughter. Her bargaining chip is she claims the murderer is her teen sweetheart, Tim.
She struck this deal by offering Tim as the murderer, Raymond Gates.
Ann didn't love anybody but Ann.
She says Tim murdered her husband in her presence.
According to Ann, she had no part of that other than cleaning up the evidence.
Tim stands trial for second-degree murder. It ends in a hung jury. He walks free.
She was good at manipulating the men in her life, but she was not as good of a liar as she believed that she was.
Ann Gates doesn't face a jury. She pleads no contest to the manslaughter of Raymond and is sentenced to 10 years.
Ann was originally charged with first-degree murder. That's premeditated. Ann got off lucky.
For Raymond Plew, Ann's conviction reopens old wounds of the cruel death of his brother, David. The shooting of her first husband has never been solved.
No one has been punished for David's death. Ann evidently served some small bit of prison time for someone else's death, but no one's been punished for David's death, and may never be.
In 1993, Ann Gates is released on supervised parole.
There was a storm inside of Ann, a storm of chaos.
For some women, finding a man
She was obviously a quite sexy woman.
is as easy as ABC. But keeping them is another matter.
He had been shot at close range.
Moreton Bay, off the coast of Brisbane, Australia. For 8 years, 44-year-old Patricia Byers and live-in boyfriend Carl Gutkins enjoy a comfortable life by the sea.
They had water in common, boats in common. They were yachties, boaties, champagne, high living, all of that sort of stuff.
The ocean brings them together, but also drives them apart. Carl's work as a marine engineer means he is constantly traveling.
Carl led an itinerant sort of life, probably like a lot of seamen.
You're going to Thailand?
Just for a few days on the way back.
But when he organizes a private holiday to Thailand, simmering tensions begin to boil.
The state of their relationship was clearly beginning to fall apart.
Being left alone for weeks is hard for a woman who likes to be the center of attention.
Patricia Byers was a life of the party. She was obviously a quite sexy woman.
Well, get you a coffee?
Yeah, thanks.
I can get you more than that.
Lonely Patricia finds a friend at work. Fellow insurance salesman, 49-year-old John Asquith.
She had quite a fancy for a guy that she worked with. He recognised that there was an attraction between him and Patricia, but he refused to do anything about it. So there was an honour in this man.
While John protects Patricia's honor. Across the seas in Thailand, her boyfriend Carl falls for an Asian delight. In fact, within days of meeting her, he proposes.
He met a Thai woman. He seemed to have developed an affection for her very quickly. He told her that he wanted to marry her and to leave Patricia Byers.
Patricia is devastated. She is not just losing her longtime partner, but his income and assets.
Carl made it very clear to her that she was going to get very little once Carl had actually left and gone to Thailand.
She was about to lose the yacht, the house, and everything that went with the lifestyle.
The only silver lining in her cloud of grief is her office infatuation. John Asquith.
John, it's me.
Now that she's a single woman, there is nothing stopping them getting together.
Thank you.
Almost immediately, she turns to him for comfort and support, and within a very short space of time, this relationship turns into one of love.
So, here's to the happy couple.
John is hooked, enamored. He soon intertwines his life and money with Patricia.
John and Patricia move in together.
It seems that the relationship between Byers and Asquith was a good one. He did love her and believed that he could trust her.
For the next 3 years, Patricia forgets about her unfaithful partner, Carl. She's too busy enjoying her relationship with John, the security of his income, and their love of the sea. They often spend the night on the beautiful waters of Australia's Stradbroke Island, as they do on April 13th, 1993. It's their anniversary.
John and Patricia have been together for 3 years. They go away for a romantic weekend.
This is the perfect time.
I can make it even better.
They had stopped the boat, had something good to eat, had a good drink, had sex. He went to sleep.
John wakes up feeling a little strange, and he realises he has blood. He's got blood on himself and that he's bleeding from the head.
John has no idea he has just been shot in the head.
John Asquith had been shot at close range in the forehead, single shot from a sawn-off .22 caliber rifle.
Incredibly, the bullet hasn't killed him. It's missed the vital parts of his brain.
He was lucky that the gun had been cut down because that reduced the muzzle velocity.
Confused and disoriented, John's first thoughts are for Patricia.
He gets up and stumbles out of the cabin.
He finds his lover on deck, equally dazed but not wounded.
She claimed that pirates had boarded the boat and they'd been responsible for the injury to Asquith.
Pat! What happened?
Someone hit me in the neck.
It is a shocking attack that has the victims and the whole Brisbane community in a state of disbelief.
Although tourist boats are often boarded by pirates in the Pacific region, it is not something that they normally do in the beautiful waters off Stradbroke Island.
But the strangest part is that the pirates steal nothing. Something doesn't add up.
The whole situation was highly suspicious.
Soon the truth will be told and will reveal a perpetrator more frightening than any pirate. 47-year-old Patricia Byers' love of the ocean is proving unlucky. Her sailor boyfriend, Carl Gotkins, leaves her for a beautiful young woman in Thailand. And in April 1993, modern-day pirates storm her boat, shooting her new de facto, John Asquith, in the head. 52-year-old John miraculously survives, but doesn't remember what happened.
The police were very suspicious right from the very beginning.
Police aren't buying the pirate story. Nothing is stolen, and only one of the victims is shot. Their attention turns to Patricia, who doesn't have a scratch.
As the investigations develop, that the evidence begins to mount against her.
They find John is worth a small fortune if he's dead.
Patricia Byers had in fact taken out several life insurance policies for John and forged his signatures to do so.
Patricia was cool, calm, and collected. And above all, she was patient.
Alone on the open sea is the perfect location for Patricia's plan.
What really happened that night is Patricia retrieved the sawn-off gun that she had hidden on the boat. She held it to her lover's head and pulled the trigger.
She thinks the shot will be fatal, but the short barrel of the sawn-off gun lessens the bullet's impact. John survives, much to the horror of Patricia. She is forced to come up with this ridiculous explanation.
It's not a plausible story. It was a matter of some humour amongst the prosecutors in my office at the time.
Patricia denies everything, but in 1994, a jury convicts her of attempted murder and sentences her to 12 years. But that isn't the end of the story. The fate of her previous partner comes under scrutiny.
Carl Gottchen's family started asking questions.
They haven't heard from Carl in 4 years, since his move to Thailand.
Patricia managed to convince everybody that he had not only left her, but that he had decided to cut all ties with family and friends and start a completely new life.
Or did he? Police travel to Thailand. They can't find Carl, but they do find his girlfriend, Oi, who hasn't seen him since he proposed to her.
He was meant to get on a plane about the 6th of July of 1990. He never got on that plane, and Oi never saw him again.
Now, Carl's disappearance turns into a murder investigation, and all roads lead to Patricia.
All Carl Gottschalk's bank accounts were plundered. His credit cards were plundered. And all that happened within a period of a few months after he disappeared.
A forensic team goes to the last place Carl is seen alive, the home he shared with Patricia 4 years earlier.
They find forensic traces, tiny blood spatters in master bedroom. By DNA connections, it was most definitely blood of Carl Gottschalk's.
There's a lot in the evidence that points to the conclusion that he was shot whilst he was in bed.
Patricia thought she was more clever than the police. Fortunately, she wasn't. DNA is pretty much forever.
The big question is, where is Carl's body? Only Patricia knows, and she is denying everything.
There were many theories about what buyers had done with the body. They could have gone out onto the bay where she dropped Carl's body, weighted down into the bay.
She probably would have gotten away with murder, but she wanted more and more and more. And every time a criminal commits a crime, they're closer and closer to being caught.
Patricia is convicted again, this time of murder.
The jury was convinced, beyond a reasonable doubt, she killed him.
In 1999, Patricia is sentenced to life, no chance of parole, without her beloved ocean and the perks of rich partners.
Patricia loved men for what they could do for her financially. The fun for Patricia in life was taking advantage of men.
These deadly women shared a greedy streak. Dee Dee Moore took everything from a kind soul, including his life. Ann Gates' seductive ways masked lethal intentions, and Patricia Byers proved she was the real pirate. All three women used their charms to earn trust until their true desire was revealed. They were money hungry.